Welcome everyone to GTACC webinar. This is Sankita speaking, and I want to welcome everyone for Stories from the Field. And we're really privileged to have some great industry leaders taking time from their very, very demanding schedules to share with us some of their lessons that they've learned along the way in this first few weeks, as well as the lessons that they're learning. And so I will introduce them. They're going to answer 6 very common questions. And through this process, you can ask questions, send them over via chat or raise your hand, and Mike Aoki will be on the other end fielding the questions. So we have a jam-packed hour. I'm going to jump right into it. Oh, here we go again. Minor hiccup. So I'd like to introduce, I have Lisa running. She's the VP of Client Services from CI Investments, and she has over 25 years of experience in the financial services industry, and she is such a people-centered leader. I've known her for years through GTACC, and she's tremendous, and she's really going to share. In the first session that we had, Lisa offered so many great points that I said, the next time we have a chance, I need you to come in and speak. And next we have is Chai Wen Liang. She's a Director of Client Services from Questrade Financial Services. And she is a wonderful person with great energy. And again, more than 20 years in the financial services industry. And one second here, we're having a little glitch again. I have my tech support right beside me. And so you're going to hear great information from Chai's journey in this last little while. And then we have Keith McKinnon, the Director of Customer Care from Medtronic. Oh, there's their beautiful faces. And so we have Keith McKinnon, and he's Customer Care Lead Director at Medtronic, over 25 years of experience in the whole diabetes industry. And he too is so people-centered. All 3 of them are. They care deeply about the customer, but very deeply about the teams that they lead. And so we're going to really hear how they've supported their customers and their teams through this very stressful journey. And then I'll be moderating, and then I have the amazing Mike Aoki fielding the questions and taking care of all the things that I forgot to do. So why are we doing this? We are being isolated right now. And so our intention is just to share best practices or the practices that are working for some. And you pick and choose what works in your environment. We want to help you answer your questions. And if someone on the panel doesn't know an answer, we can go and source out and maybe find out someone who does know the answer. And then our basic foundation of GTACC is to connect, learn, and grow together. Okay, so just quick housekeeping before we jump into everything. So like I said, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, you can use the chat bar that's on the panel that you see. And then if you want to ask a question or say something, just click that raise your hand icon, and then Mike will address them as they come in, okay? And he's really great at taking care of that in a really timely manner, because we want this fully interactive, because it is for you. So why we're doing this particular topic is each week it's getting a little more stressful and people are getting tired. So some key challenges right now is there's just increased fears of commuting for the people who have to still go into the office, with being socially distant. They're worried about their family members, personal health and wellness. These are all weighing on our minds, especially when you hear all the press conferences, and they're stressful. For the remote agents, there's some technology challenges happening. And, when an agent is working on their own, that causes that stress if something's not working. Increased uncertainty today in the marketplace, and just people don't know what's really happening. Transitioning to a work from home model in itself can be a challenge. Many centers are handling increased call volumes with wait times from 2 hours to 7 hours. And I've been hearing from so many leaders, and I applaud all of you for doing what you need to do to get through this. And then the increased isolation and loneliness, boredom, these are all what's happening in the current state. But we are in this together, and now I'm going to just jump in with the questions for our leaders. Okay, so question number 1, and don't worry that there's not a lot of notes on the slides. We did that deliberately so that you can really just listen to our speakers. You can take the notes, but we will have detailed notes from the speakers put on our site probably by Monday, Tuesday. And then you'll have the audio recording of this as well. So don't worry about not having lots of text on the slides. So what are some stressors that you're seeing as you move your agents to work remotely? So Lisa, could you jump in and help us with that question?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sangeeta. And thank you for inviting me to be part of the panel today. My team and I found tremendous value from the first 2 webinars in the series, so I'm excited to learn from Chai and Keith and to share some of what we've been learning. So some of the stressors we felt here at CI, the first one I'll share is when the pandemic hit, we did not have any of our team of agents working from home, and so we needed to make that happen as quickly as possible. We needed to continue, obviously, to manage the client experience risk, and we were also dealing with limited access to the VPN tokens that our teams need to connect to our infrastructure from home. So we needed to move our agents home in stages rather than all at once. So as the news about the pandemic intensified, the agents that we'd not yet been able to transition to working from home became increasingly stressed about coming into the office, and for very good reason, both from a physical distancing perspective as well as their commute on public transit. And I know that there's a lot of leaders on this call, and we know that it's our job to manage the business risks while maintaining employee engagement and safety. So this particular situation really stretched us. I'm so proud of how my leadership team worked through the transition with our people. We did our very best to manage that very quickly, and within 2 weeks we had our entire team working from home. If I could rewind personally and approach this again, I would say something I would do differently is I would communicate more frequently to the entire team on the status of the agent transition and the realities that we were dealing with as leaders through that time. You mentioned transparency earlier before we got on the call, and the reason why, if I could rewind, I would do it differently is because I think that level of transparency really helps to reduce fear and to build the trust of your team. So I should have found more time for this, and that would be something that I would share as a learning. Another stressor was that our agents experienced difficulties with using their own tech at home. So different from being on corporate issued tech, they found some difficulty connecting to the corporate systems, and they also experienced some unexpected dropped calls while they were serving clients, which made their job more difficult and more stressful. So some of the things that we did was to ensure that we had appropriate processes in place to identify issues as they were happening, so that we could determine some patterns and some root cause and share that with our IT partners so that they could help us to troubleshoot. And one final area of stressor that we experienced in this migration was one that I'm sure a lot of people are feeling right now, and you mentioned it in the first slide, and that's the stress of maintaining service levels while also dealing with higher volumes and reduced staff if you're struggling in that transition to get everybody up and functional at home. So this stress, we have to remind ourselves, comes from a very noble place. We and our team members are very engaged in achieving performance goals and meeting client expectations. And so that adds some stress when they don't feel like they're able to do that. In terms of what we did at CI is, as a leadership team, we really leaned into that, and we got much more involved in the intraday workforce management activities. And so our intentions of getting more involved were to be there to support the staffing decisions in the moment, to remove any obstacles that might have required approvals or permission to try different things, and most importantly, to reassure the team that their work was appreciated and that we were all taking this one day and sometimes 1 hour at a time, rather than being overwhelmed by the bigger picture that we were facing. So we created a Teams chat that included all of our WFM team, as well as our leadership from supervisors all the way up to our SVP, so that we could have real-time collaboration around what we were seeing, high-fiving the team, and adding some humor at times, because you always have to find ways to laugh during the day. So those are the 3 stresses that I think really stood out for us.
That's wonderful. And I really like that you focused on that real-time collaboration, literally 1 hour at a time. That's how everyone's getting through it. So thank you. That's all fantastic points. And I appreciate your honesty on things that you would do differently looking back. And I think that will be very helpful to others. So Keith, would you like to jump in and share some stresses that you see as you've moved your agents to work remotely?
Sure. Hey, thank you very much. And I think we encountered a lot of the things Lisa just described, and I can tell you for the last few agents, as we were transitioning from work from home, I can tell you transit was definitely a big issue, and we went to paying for individual taxis to get them back and forth from work for those last couple of days, and that made a big difference in relieving their stress of getting to work and getting home. So I can reiterate that was a huge turning point for us as we were transitioning. The other big thing that we found, and I'd love to say that we started it, but we definitely stole this one from another customer service organization. But we added an introduction to our IVR that gave the heads up to our customers as they were calling home that, hey, we're transitioning to work from home, and there's a high likelihood you're going to hear a child or a pet in the background. So it was something that we found really helped reduce the stress for the agents. It set the expectation for the customer that they're not going to be surprised if they hear something out of the ordinary in the background, that there's a high likelihood that they are going to hear a child or a pet in the background. And then more importantly, relieve the stress for the agents on the phone, that if this happened, it wasn't, a big deal, that, the customers were on board, they understood. And I can tell you that simple recording made a big difference, not only for our customers, but more importantly for our agents on the phone to feel that if something out of the ordinary happened in the background, that everybody was expecting it and everybody understood it.
And I think that's really amazing, because that is a lot of stress on agents when they think they have to have it 100% quiet. So that just you removed one big stressor. And since you told me what you did, I went and told so many leaders, hey, you should try this. So thank you, Keith. I think that's a brilliant way to still deliver great customer experience, but taking care of your employees during this time. So Lisa, I have one more question for you. What are some lessons leaders can be mindful of? What can they be mindful of as we move more of our teams to work remotely? And I remember when you mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago, it just stuck out in my head so much that I needed to ask you this to share.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things is to remember to be careful not to make assumptions. So for example, not everyone wants to work from home. We definitely had some folks that said, really, like, this isn't something that I'm looking for. Some can't even work from home if they tried. They don't have a workspace available, or perhaps they're sharing that workspace with others. And that makes the work more challenging and less enjoyable than being in the office for some of our people. We also found that our agents didn't typically have an additional monitor screen at home. And as we all know in this industry, that contact center agent screens are so fundamental. They often need to juggle multiple platforms such as telephony, CRM systems, knowledge management systems, core systems, and having a single laptop screen versus the double screens that they have at the office is a significant adjustment to how they handle calls. And in terms of a related topic, again, to those ideal working conditions at home, you know, not having ideal working conditions, sharing the workspace with others, having to juggle small children, working at the kitchen island, working cross-legged on your bed because you don't have a home office. These were all things that I know that I personally did not anticipate in the early days, and it became real very quickly. So I would say make sure that you don't make any assumptions. Think about putting yourself in the shoes of the agent and explore all possibilities that may be creating that physical or mental stress that they're now feeling in this new work situation. And I would say a more recent learning, I would say, as we're a couple of weeks in, is the mental and physical stress for leaders is even that additional layer. So in addition to the factors our individual contributors are experiencing, leaders have that added burden of worrying about and caring for their teams. And so it's that whole notion of putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, like we heard on last week's call. Don't assume everyone in the group is doing good. When they say, yeah, I'm good, explore that a little deeper. Keep asking the question, watching for things and indications that perhaps they need some help, and reinforcing that their self-care is a priority. And I would just say the final lessons learned for us, and I think that they're good at any time, and that is to find ways to provide ongoing reassurance that what we're experiencing is tough for all of us. We're all learning. Nobody has all the answers. Making a point of providing ongoing recognition of everyone's efforts, not just the results that are coming, but the creativity and the support that they're displaying during these times. It goes a long way in building that positive energy and positive feelings across your team. So those are some of the lessons that we've learned in these first couple of weeks, Sangeeta.
Yeah, just awesome. Like fantastic lessons. And I remember when you told me this before, is no one should make assumptions. So thank you, Lisa. I know there's going to be great notes for everybody to absorb and as they listen to this over and over again. Okay, Chai. So I have a question for you, and I know you're so energetic, so you'd be perfect. How do you keep your remote and your on-site teams engaged and motivated? Because I know a lot of people are starting to feel a bit tired. So how do you do it?
Well, we're fortunate that we've always had a small group of work from home agents from a business continuity planning basis. So we already had some tools in place to keep our teams engaged from a remote basis. So we've only enhanced that with the current situation. In addition, we were fortunate that we transitioned over to G Suite last year. So we are fully leveraging all their tools, such as Hangouts, chats with our video function, as well as forms. So we can collect and share feedback very easily with a very large group of people. But technology side, there are behavioral things that we have stepped up in doing more so given the lack of physical presence with our teams. First off is reach out individually. I know it's easy, it's very effective to send these mass emails to the team to reach a wide audience, but when you send a personalized, hang up message to one agent, it really makes a profound impact and they really do appreciate it. Oftentimes, for example, one of my leadership teams will send out and copy me on a recognition email to their team, and I will piggyback on that and reach out to the agents individually, and it's so well received from them. So I just find random, unexpected messages are the most impactful because it could be just, hey, how you doing? How you adjusting, to working from home? And it just shows that you take the time to show how much you care about them. I would say, secondly, to piggyback on Lisa's comments, recognition. So important, and I would say more important than ever, not only for their accomplishments, but I would say surviving the current environment. As we talked about, it's just the ability to adjust, to be agile and flexible in looking for creative ways. My leadership team has just been fantastic in resourcing all sorts of creative ways to make it work. When we had agents who said, I can't work from home, well, we went 100% on Monday working from home in a very short period of time. So certainly it's been an adjustment. I think recognizing not only accomplishments when they have great, number of handles, number of interactions handled, but also just surviving. And I would say thirdly, it's regular communication. I think that cadence, something that I do with my team is sending out regular Monday morning emails, has been something I look forward to. And this is just a series of communications that we do, but that regularity helps achieve some semblance of normalcy given what's going on. So I think the opportunity for us is to up that in terms of regular communication, and not just from me, but my leadership team is doing that across the board and sharing, again, great success stories. And one thing we did do well is sharing what the game plan was, because although we had a group working remotely, it was a very small group. And I would say in a matter of about a week or 2 weeks, we went from about 10, 15% up to 50%, 75, and 100% as of Monday. So incredible feat. And again, that regular communication really helped alleviate the anxiety, because everyone was wondering, when am I going to get to work from home, given the heightened concerns over COVID.
Great. Thank you, Chai. And Keith, Lisa, did either one of you want to chime in?
I would just say last week we held a virtual management happy hour using Teams video functionality and the platform Kahoot. And so that's sort of blowing off steam together, not related to work topics, but meeting each other's significant other and playing a game together and having a glass of wine together. And we heard on a call this morning, one of our supervisors had done the same thing for his team. I think it was Friday evening after everybody had signed off, and they were on there for a couple of hours together. And I think what we're hearing from our teams is, we were 40 hours in the office together, and then very abruptly, some of us went kind of into isolation, and they're really craving that interaction. And so if we as a workforce can reach in and offer those opportunities to connect on a personal level, as well as during the work for work-related topics, we just found that it was really well received, and we're looking forward to our next happy hour next week.
That's great. So Mike, are there any comments or questions for the first three questions that we've had?
Well, not yet, Sangeeta. I did have one personal one, though, and this can be for any member of our panel. How are you leveraging, just to build, Lisa, on what you're saying about virtual happy hours, what other technology or software you're leveraging to try to keep everybody connected when a lot of the team is working from home?
Well, it's Keith. I can let you know what we're currently doing. Our biggest thing is we have Jabber, the instant messaging. So I have two call center teams, customer service and product support. And so we have a group Jabber for each. So again, there's the ability to communicate, update on an ongoing basis. We are just looking at going to Microsoft Teams. So my direct reports are just playing with Microsoft Teams and learning how it works, and we'll be looking to roll that out as well over the next few weeks.
Great.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks, Keith.
Great. And so for everyone listening, feel free to, connect with Mike and send a chat or a question, and then he can pop in between our speakers. Okay, so thanks so far. Great. So Keith, I had a question for you. What are some successes that you've seen experienced in the first couple of weeks with your team working remotely? Can you share some of those findings?
Sure. I think the big thing is, what we're finding, and we're an organization that really just in the last year had been looking at moving to work from home, more than just a business continuity option, but more of a true option. So what we're finding is that a lot of our agents seem to be really enjoying it. Not all of them, but the majority. And we're seeing that, in our service levels improving. So I think the next question I'll have is about the tsunami. or it's a couple of questions down. But I mean, once we got through the tsunami of calls, the last 2.5 weeks, we have had some great service level times from both groups. And I can really attribute that to the teams being comfortable working from home, putting in some extra time because they're not doing the commute. The one thing we're finding on our helpline or product support line is that we're seeing calls come in evenly throughout the day. So that's making a big difference in the service levels there. So you're not seeing those, lunchtime, dinner time, break time spikes that would drive our average wait time. What we're seeing is people are home. A lot more people are home, and they're able to just pick up the phone when they need to, and we're able to service them a lot better. So, surprise, we're going to take the good out of this, which is that we're really seeing a really nice improvement in our service levels with our customers.
That's great. It's great that you can, I know it's just a couple of weeks in, but any successes that we can see, it's good during these challenging times. So thanks. But, Lisa or Chai, either one of you want to just chime in?
Sure. I would say, there's definitely a silver lining to the current environment that we're in. First of all, with the lack of commuting, some of my agents are opting to do overtime before and after their shift that they otherwise would have spent in traffic. So they're getting some extra pay. Our clients are getting the help they need. So it's a win-win for everyone. We're also seeing our leadership team really come together very well coordinated, using, again, the Google tools to coordinate their activities such as oversight, troubleshooting tech issues, and of course, providing support to the floor. I would say the other benefit too that I've seen in this sort of chaos of trying to get everyone work from home in a very short period of time is we've seen amazing, I would say, collaboration with other departments such as marketing or in our tech team, because to go from 15% to 100% in a matter of a few weeks takes an incredible amount of effort and really a village to come together. And what we saw is we had FAQ and other communication pieces that we sent out to our clients that normally take well over a week to put together, deploy, and send out. We took days. Similarly, our technology team, they worked miracles and tirelessly to order over 100 monitors, 50 laptops, add more Citrix licenses, like all these behind the scenes. And so we were very cognizant to also share this with our team in our progress check-ins, so they knew it wasn't just them working hard, it was everyone across Questrade that was working hard to make this happen and make this a success, because in the day our clients win and our employees win.
Yeah, and it's great. I'm hearing from both of the strength of the team. It matters so much, and it's getting stronger. So that's amazing. Okay, Chai, while I have you on the line, so Mike, is there anything you wanted to pop in and say before I move forward? Okay, maybe he's muted. Oh, so Chai, while you're speaking, I know you shared a story with me where you were at a tsunami of calls in queue. So share with me, how it was when you had a day or days or weeks of that flood of calls. How did you go about handling it the first time you saw it, and what's your processes now?
Yes, I remember my answer to you was, it wasn't days, it was weeks. Our March was a record month for us in terms of new accounts being open. We had a lot of demand from new clients looking to trade with us. So again, record after record, we have new records being broken every day. At the end of the day, it's about turning off the noise. What really helped, and we actually started doing this well before COVID was what it is now. Back in January, we had multiple monitors across the floor showing the various KPI statistics to everyone. And we turned that off, and we actually put on images of, burning fireplaces, majestic mountain scenery, and it really changed everyone's mindset. So before we were all work from home, we stuck to that. We just found that was much more calm overwhelming in this sort of chaos. Second, I would say is to really reframe and refocus. And what I mean by is when we look at the queue, we can't look at it as a number. We got to remember that is a client, a person that needs our help, and that's why they're calling us. That's why they're reaching out via chat or emails to get our assistance. And all we can do is do our best to help one client at a time, to not focus on the queue and how many people are waiting, but really to be focused on, I've got this person in front of me. What do they need help with? What can I do my utmost best to make sure that they get a wow experience, get the information that they need, and then move along? The second is to refocus. It's really looking at and separating what's within our control versus what's not. And we have the ability to choose how we interact with our clients and how much patience or care that we show. So again, going back to it's one client at a time, what can we do in that one single interaction? So I've found that embedding these little reminders regularly in our messages helps the team to better manage the volumes and really manage the related stress.
If I can just jump in and ask one more question, like a part B to that. How did that impact your escalation? So as it went up, were your leaders like bombarded at the same time? Was it all hands on deck?
It was. We have a number of different roles within the department, including quality coaches, because quality is utmost important to us. And they became quasi-agents. No one was above answering a call, answering a chat. It was really all hands on deck. And when you see that level of teamwork, it just keeps you motivated and it keeps you more engaged because you see everyone in all levels of leadership. I had my team leads jumping in as well, helping it with calls. It really shows that we're all in it together. And I think that really helped alleviate the stress. But back to your question about escalations, we found that even in this, long wait times, we still had many positive client feedback testimonials that came in saying, you know what, it was well worth that hour-long wait because when I did speak to your agent, they were fantastic. They were patient, they were knowledgeable, they really showed how much they care in helping me. So that shows to us that, it's working. The messages that we are sending about, refocusing, it's a client, a person in the day, it is really working.
That's great. And I like that your messaging, you have the mindset that it's one client at a time and be amazing for that one client at a time. And it's
Absolutely.
similar to what I heard earlier in the webinar, like don't make assumptions and it's one employee, one team member at a time. So awesome. Lisa or Keith, one of you want to chime in?
Sure. I mean, we definitely felt our tsunami during the March break week, and that's when we saw, for us, a lot of orders. People stocking up to get enough supplies. So we're in the medical device business. So again, people, clearly are fearful of companies running out of product. Now we've done lots of emails to reassure them, but for sure that we saw a lot of it. Again, being in the medical device business, we've had other tsunamis in the past. Most of them are due to recalls that drive the phone volume up. So I'd say the team was actually pretty well prepared for the high volume. And again, I would echo Chai. It's one client at a time, and we continue to focus that in at times when the call volume is so high. I kind of live by that motto. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And we really kind of treat the same thing. It's let's zero in, focus on the customers, make sure that experience is fantastic. And we got similar responses from our customers. Same thing. Waited a long time, but the experience I had was fantastic. Thank you for everything you do. And I would say that's the big difference from some of our recall spikes to this spike and tsunami, is that I think people have a big understanding of a better understanding of what the agents on the phone are going through. So I would say our escalations were not even close to what we've seen in the past when we've had high call volume. I think the team is pretty experienced, but more importantly, I think it's a different situation than what we've seen in the past, and I'm finding at least our customers are a lot more understanding.
Yeah, that's great. And so can I just ask either one of you to share, so when you know you're going to have, when you know like the wait time is whatever, is there a message going out like to the customer calling in that the wait time is this?
We do. We have a standard one. But I would say the difference again, this time versus other ones, for some people, when they're waiting, up to an hour to get to an agent, there's still a lot of frustration. Versus this time, there's way more understanding, regardless of whether there's a message up front or not.
So this leads me to the next question, and I'd like to do a poll with our attendees, because all of this, and I applaud all three of you for your care of your teams and the people you support, and through your support, you're such really very good leaders, and that's why you're on this call today. And I genuinely mean that. But this puts a lot of stress on the leaders. And, there's heroes everywhere. But when, I look at all our contact center leaders as, yes, the agents are definitely, but all of you who are supporting them and working all hours to make sure they got home and that they're set up, you're taking care of them, you're taking care of your own family and worried about health, and there's so many other things going on, and you're getting groceries for your own family while you're taking all these extra calls and setting up extra things to make sure your teams are engaged. I'm just wondering on the stress level for, I know you're looking at your teams, but also of yourself. So I'd like to see, we'll do a quick poll on what you think the stress level of your teams is, and we'll just look at that. I'm going to launch it right now. I'll give you a minute or two to fill it in. Okay. And then I'm going to just close it up here. Okay, so we had 29% very stressed and 71% somewhat stressed. So we have to, you guys are, all I know the leaders are doing a great job with the 71% that are somewhat stressed and really nurturing and putting in policies and putting in extra care, ideas of self-care for that 29% that's very stressed. Now, let me just see here if I put the other question. Okay, little hiccup. I don't know how to get to the second poll. That's okay. So now move on into, and I wanted to do a poll actually to see on the leadership side how stressed you are. And I'm going to actually send that out. Oh, here we go.
There it is for you, Sangeeta.
It's there?
Yeah, it's there now.
Oh, great, great.
Okay.
Oh, did you help me with that? Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
What a great team we have.
Yeah, got to work together.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, the numbers are coming in. So our leaders, we're seeing, so I'm going to close this. So 38% very stressed, 63% somewhat stressed. So we need to take care of the all of you as well. So this leads me to the next question. So let me just, did I close it? Yes. Okay, so the next question. And I really want to thank all three of you because when I asked this question to these three leaders, they continuously talk about their team. But then first, it's true that oxygen mask, that you have to take care of yourself. So I'll start with you, Keith. What steps are you taking to ensure good mental health for yourself? Because I know you're working remotely and it's easy to be working those 14-hour days. So share what you're doing for yourself.
Well, I'll even share that, some people are really good work from home people and some people aren't. I am not. I have done work from home in my past jobs and have really not enjoyed it. So I'm one of those guys that, would much prefer to be in the office, away from home. But I think what I found that's helped me get a little bit better at working from home is, listening to some of the suggestions that you can read online and what we've shared with our team, creating boundaries, creating breaks, creating a little bit of exercise. So I could tell you after the first week of working from home, and it was a crazy week, we have an end of the day recap call with the leadership team, with my boss and her direct reports that usually lasts about an hour. So what I started doing was taking that call on a walk. So the dog's gonna get walked anyway. So I took the dog at the end of the day and we went off for a walk for an hour as we did the call. And what I found is that made a big difference for me. Just a little bit of a break, get away from the computer. More importantly, just get a little bit of exercise in, fresh air, and then come back and then, still finish up, whatever emails that were there from the hour and follow-ups from the meetings. But that 1 hour a day that at the end of it, has made a big difference for me.
Great. And that's such an important self-care. And actually, I know we didn't have this plan, but Lisa or Chai, did you have some self-care ideas that you've implemented?
Working on it still.
Yeah, I know.
I think as servant leaders, we typically think of ourselves last, but I think one advantage of working from home is there is more family time. I've got 2 kids, and being able to have lunch with them has, I think, really helped me to better refocus when I'm back at my desk and in front of the screen, and to have those mental breaks, because typically when I'm in the office, I eat my lunch in front of the computer, checking on my emails and catching up on work. So this forces me, because I've got my family, in the house, and remind me what's really important.
Great, thank you. And Lisa, did you want to chime in anything?
I think Keith and Chai have both covered both of the things that I've been trying lately. And the only thing that I would add, and it may sound a little out there, but essential oils. So there's a essential oil one by the Sage company that's called Stress Release. And so I kind of have that atomizing in my office to kind of just give me those Zen moments in the craziness.
No, absolutely. I'm all for essential oils. I just inhaled some frankincense right before this. Great. Okay, wonderful. And then Chai, did you want to share what steps you're taking to ensure good mental health for your team?
Sure. I would say go back to those regular check-ins, both scheduled and unscheduled. You have your one-on-ones rather than just jump right into business, really asking how they are doing and digging deeper when they say, yeah, fine, everything's good. really, okay, let's talk about what's good and really digging into the details. And sometimes you'll uncover some interesting topics that need to take a different tangent. But I would say also the unscheduled asks of, hey, how's it going? How are you adjusting? And I would say not just to your direct reports. I get a great response when I reach out directly as director to individual agents, and the response just shows they really appreciate that time and effort taken. I would say make use of, again, those emojis, those quick high five or thumbs up images, sends a quick hello, a quick, great job, keep it up. And so I think that really helps acknowledge all that they're doing. I would say also our HR department has done a fantastic job leading up to, as we were getting more updates on COVID, they were sending, the updates, but also sending tips on how to, manage your stress. They were sending also links to online yoga videos that people could participate in, to even time management skills and working from home adjustment tips, as well as reminding that we do, as employees, have access to the employee assistance program. So when things get really bad and you really need professional services or other tips, we've got that resource at hand. And then lastly, again, embedding those messages in your communications regularly about building resiliency. I go back to that webinar a few weeks back about, actually it was the Women's Leadership Network, Sangeeta, that you guys put on through GTACC about building resiliency, and how timely, because when we remind everyone that this is temporary, it's not forever ever, it puts it in a different frame of mind, and reminding them too that we're all in this together. So it's looking for the positives, silver lining to everything. And so I go back to, because we've been forced to work differently, communicate differently, because we're not physically in the office together, I think it's a good thing. I think we've found really creative ways that we can continue to leverage even when we're back in the office to stay connected. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to be stronger coming out of this in our relationships. Because when you're doing a video conference and you see people's homes and their pets, you really do get a different side of them, and I think it's for the good. So again, if I could say a big takeaway from me from all this has been just staying connected and feeling a sense of community, even though you're alone in your home office. And again, these webinars have been immensely helpful. So I want to thank you, Sangeeta and Mike, for hosting this, because it has been tremendously helpful for me. And that's why I opted to participate and share what wisdom I have and the practices that we've been doing here at Questrade. But really, it's knowing that we're all in this together and that there is support for each other. So thank you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. And I love that you say this, and I'm sure you make your team believe this, that look for the silver lining. There is silver linings. There's so many little things, and that does help with the stress. So before I move on to Lisa, Mike, are there any questions or comments that you needed to share, you can share for us?
Well, there are a few, actually. I want to make sure that Lisa has enough time, though, to finish her part. So, we probably just do that and then go back to the Q&A at the end.
Okay,
how does that sound? Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lisa has some great information to share, and I know she's always looking out for her team. So what are some steps that you've taken, Lisa, for your team?
I would say that that Keith and Chai hit off on such a great list of awesome things that they're doing, and it sounded very familiar. We're finding those same those same things are working for us as well. The only couple of things that I would add would be, as leaders, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. We ourselves are going through personal challenges that can be emotionally draining, physically draining, etc. And we have an opportunity to open up the conversation with our teams by sharing authentically the journey that we're on. And that often makes others feel comfortable sharing the same. So again, that I'm good trying to find ways to open up the conversation. We're making a point of watching for overworking, because what can happen is either people feel that there's an expectation of overworking, or without even realizing they're logging in early and logging out late, and that's fine in the short run, but this is going to be more of a marathon than a sprint. And so we're trying to watch for those indicators where we see people could be on a path to burnout, and we're intercepting and kind of saying, hey, just so you know, we don't expect this, we really want you to balance and recharge. So that's a big one. And finally, we're starting to, as contact center leaders, I'm sure that we're starting to worry about what's going to happen in the last half of the year when everybody has sort of canceled their vacation during this unusual time. And what does it look like trying to jam a year's worth of vacation into 6 months when we have, you know, really well-designed workforces where that is usually spread out. So we're trying for two reasons. One, to again prevent that burnout, but also trying to lead by example and taking some vacation days during this time, even though we're stuck at home. It's that mental wellness day. And so it's a twofold. It'll help to spread it out a little bit, but it also prevents that burnout. So those are the couple of things that I wanted to add.
And great points. The burnout part is very, very important, especially when it's leaders supporting agents, because they feel they have to be there 24/7. And it's nice that, you know, to recognize that and to lead by example, that there has to be some kind of balance. And also that what you mentioned of even considering vacation during this time, a staycation, but just for your own mental health. So I think all those points are excellent. And before I turn it over to Mike, do any of you want to add anything else? And then Mike can ask some questions. Okay, so Mike?
Yes, here are some other questions from the group as well. Actually, both Clive and Elizabeth asked pretty related questions. Just to paraphrase, you know, for the panel, do you think that work from home will end up becoming more of a permanent situation, or do you think it might revert back to going back to a centralized office again? And actually, you know, Keith, I guess we'll start with you in terms of what your opinion is on that.
Well, I think, as I mentioned, I mean, this is working from home is fairly new for us at Medtronic. You know, what we're seeing is that we are getting some really good benefits from it. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when this is all over, I think we'll see more work from home than we've had in the past. One, everybody's got a kit, so that makes it a lot easier, and it'll become more of an option. I will say some of the stuff we've seen even before this whole started with people working from home was a lot of the isolation. So I think we're learning how to counter some of that stuff with whether it's group chats or, you know, being really forceful with ourselves to make sure we're reaching out to the team on a regular basis. These were things I think that were lacking with some of our work from home people before. So I think in the end we're going to look at doing more of it, and we're going to be better at it because I think it's a different way to manage the team working from home than in the office. You can't do the quick drive-bys to check in on people. You got to be more, diligent to reach out, as Lisa and Chai have mentioned, reach out and talk to the individuals. Random is best, and I think we're learning to do that on a work from home basis. But yeah, no, I can definitely see us doing more of it when this is all over.
Okay, great. Thanks, Keith. And Chai, what's your opinion in terms of this? Do you think it's a more permanent thing, or will we revert back to being everybody at the office again?
Well, it's funny because we have a very engaged team. So before COVID, when we asked people to work from home, they actually said, no, we love being in the office. We do a lot of social events on a regular basis. So it's, again, feeling that community that they get when they're in the office. But certainly there's a lot of takeaways and learnings that we will likely look at and increase percentage of our workforce working from home. We also have the challenge of space as well. My team has literally doubled in size over the last couple of years. So even though we're adding another floor to the building, we are still really at the capacity when it comes to volume. So this will give us an ability to still add to the team without space limitations.
Well, that's great. Okay, that sounds excellent for expansion. And Lisa, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's permanent now, or will we revert back to people being back in the office again?
No, I think that I think this will forever change how we work. Not only how we work as employees within a company, but also the processes that we use to engage with our clients. It's sort of forced innovation, and I don't think we'll ever completely rewind. I think it'll inform even stronger work from home programs. So I think that, yeah, we're learning a lot right now. We're moving through some bumps that we would have encountered at a slower cadence. It's a force fit, but it's one that's going to make organizations stronger. That's the opinion that I have.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Thanks, Lisa. And Lisa, a follow-up question for you as well. This is from Mina, and it's in relation to looking in terms of checking with people to see how they're doing and make sure they're okay. What are some other suggestions that you have in terms of being able to check in with them, or how can you check in with them to make sure that people are okay on your team?
I would say a lot of that I shared when we were talking about the good mental health for your team. But one thing, in addition to what we shared, is we've been really encouraging people to turn on their webcams. So I mentioned earlier that we're using the platform Microsoft Teams, and I feel just so blessed that we went on to that platform full bore in 2019, because it really is a great foundational platform to get through what we're trying to get through right now. And so we're encouraging people to turn on their webcams, and that's really so that we can see how they're doing. So there's one thing to hear that somebody's doing okay, but sometimes when you turn on the camera, you get more than just what you're hearing. So you can see whether the person looks tired, you can see whether the person appears upset, and you can just have that human connection. So everything that Chai and Keith and I have said about checking in daily, making a point of asking how they're doing personally, not just getting right down to the business and the metrics, but checking in with them human to human, and then just being able to see them and stay in that moment with them and explore it a little bit deeper, like Chai was saying. So that would be what I would suggest.
Okay, good. No, excellent advice, Lisa. Thank you. All right, good. And I've got one final question as well. This is for anybody in the panel. In terms of looking at this, this was actually from Cheryl Stedman from Contact Atlantic, New Brunswick, or NB. And Cheryl, thank you for asking this. And also thanks for the support that you and Jason Purdy are providing in terms of helping these webinars reach all across Canada, not just in the GTA itself. And Cheryl's question is, are there any contact centers in the GTA that were forced to close due to COVID-19? And our comment was also that here in New Brunswick, where she's based out of, they're not aware of any centers that have had to close, thankfully. And of course, contact centers are one of the few places that are actually hiring right now, as an industry. And so it's going to be one of the things that help lead the economy out of the recession, later on. So just a quick survey question, Keith, Chai, and Lisa, are you hearing anything at all about other contact centers closing due to COVID-19 at all?
I have not. And in fact, we are actually starting hiring our next batch of agents. So we're going to have to do our training as well as hiring all virtual, which is going to be a new thing for us. We haven't stopped our plans. Again, our volumes are very high, tsunami every day. And so we are moving ahead with business as usual and continuing to expand our team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's great to hear
the
industry.
I know there is increased hiring in many companies.
Yep, we're at CF, we're hiring as well in May, and I haven't heard of any centers in the GTA area closing. What I have heard is some of the larger scale centers that were not, did not have a work from home program of any kind are really struggling now in terms of trying to accommodate that physical distancing and the high stress levels that agents are feeling coming into work every day. So I haven't heard them close, but I've heard that it's gotten pretty real, and I'm hearing that they're finding creative solutions like using their footprint outside of their contact center buildings, putting people in non-traditional locations and setting them up to be able to go there, which is still within their corporate infrastructure, to be a part of an extended contact center because they're not able to accommodate sort of that remote worker yet. So I think people are getting very creative, but I haven't heard of anybody being forced to shut down yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I haven't heard, and I've been checking in with the different centers. So, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Chai, Keith, Lisa, for sharing. And thank you for all the attendees. I know there's a lot of competing demands on your time. And so we're very mindful of being finished right on time. So, just wanted to let you know the next webinar is Friday, April 17th at 2 p.m. And this is a big issue that is coming up, and it's around security, cybersecurity tips for the remote workforce. And, you know, in the office is one thing, and now we have agents working off their own laptops in different scenarios and different house setups. So we will have some experts coming in, and we're just trying to finalize them. So speakers TBA, but registration is now open, and I'll put the link on the follow-up email that comes out to you this weekend, along with the recording of this webinar, and then the notes from our speakers. They've been very gracious, and they'll put some time and get the notes over to me, and we'll get it posted onto our website. And thanks to Neil Glynn, he created a really nice site, like on our GTACC site, a tab, COVID-19, and its resources, and along with all the recordings from our webinars. So this is our third one. And so that once this recording is put up there, it'll be on our YouTube channel and on the COVID-19 tab. So thank you, everyone. Stay safe. I know there is heightened anxiety, so stay safe and take care of yourself. And I hope this helped you. Thank you again, Lisa, Chai, Keith, and thank you so much, Mike, as well. Take care, and yep, we're all in this together. And talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.